Look at the sky. Look at the ocean. For most of us, the word blue feels obvious, like it's always existed. But here's the twist. In a lot of ancient writing, blue barely shows up. And sometimes it seems like people didn't even describe the sky or sea as blue at all. So what's going on? Did ancient people literally see colors differently? Or is this one of those myths that's almost true, but not in the way you think? Today, we're diving into the strange story of how blue became blue. Let's clear something up right away. Ancient humans weren't missing a blue sensor in their eyes. The color existed in nature. Their eyes worked like ours in the basic biological sense. The real mystery is about language and categories, how cultures slice up the rainbow with words, and what they consider important enough to name. 2. Wine dark sea and the sky that wasn't blue. One of the most famous examples comes from Homer's epics, where the sea is described as wine dark. That line has launched 1,000 debates. To modern ears, wine dark sea sounds wrong. But it's a clue. Older languages often focused less on hue, the exact color family, and more on qualities like brightness, darkness, shimmer, or surface feel. So instead of saying blue, a writer might describe the sea as dark, gleaming, stormy, or metallic. Even the sky might be described as vast, starry, or like bronze or iron, more about its presence than a single color label. Also, ancient Greek did have words that could point toward bluish shades, but they didn't map neatly onto our modern blue. Some terms could overlap with dark shades, gray blue, greenish blue, or even blackish tones depending on context. So the blue is missing story isn't really about eyesight. It's about how language labels the world. Here's where it gets really interesting. Researchers who study languages around the world noticed patterns in how color words tend to appear. In many languages, the earliest basic color categories are basically light and dark. Then comes a strong color like red. After that, green and yellow split apart. And only later, often much later, does a language develop a distinct everyday term for blue. That doesn't mean people couldn't see blue. It means that in many cultures, blue wasn't treated as its own major category the way it is in modern English. And there's more. Studies in color perception suggest that language can influence how quickly people spot differences between shades, especially around boundaries like blue versus green. If a language groups blue and green together, people may be slower to pick out a blue square among greens, because the category boundary isn't reinforced by everyday words. Now let's add a second layer. Technology and materials. Yes, the sky is blue, but you can't exactly bottle sky. For most of history, what made a color culturally powerful wasn't just seeing it, it was making it. And blue is surprisingly tricky to manufacture as a stable dye or pigment. Reds, browns, yellows. Easier to find in clays, ochres, and natural earth pigments. But vivid, reliable blues were often expensive, rare, or chemically difficult. That's why blue pigments become a big deal when civilizations figure them out. One famous example, Egyptian blue, considered one of the earliest known synthetic pigments. It shows that some ancient cultures absolutely valued blue, especially when it could be produced and used in art and objects. So in some places, blue wasn't missing, it was precious. Put it all together, and the puzzle starts to make sense. Languages categorize color differently. Not everyone splits the rainbow into the same named chunks. Ancient descriptions often focused on brightness, texture, and shine, not one fixed hue word. Blue pigments and dyes were historically harder to produce, which affected how culturally central blue became. So when you read an ancient text and you don't see blue, it's not proof that the color didn't exist. It's proof that our modern idea of blue is a cultural invention, a very successful one. The sky didn't suddenly turn blue one day. The sea didn't change. What changed was us. Our words, our art, our trade, our pigments, and the way we decided to divide up the spectrum. So the next time you look up and think, the sky is blue, remember, you're not just seeing a color. You're seeing a story told by language, culture, and history, painted across the world.